I'm going to show you how to frame and install an attic ladder. The tools I require are the attic ladder itself, the instructions that go with it, some framing timber, some packers, a hacksaw, a level, a circular saw, a tape measure and pencil, a plasterboard saw, a hammer, a set square, some screws, a drill, a saw, a reciprocating saw, a nail gun, my safety gear, some sawhorses and a ladder. In the ceiling, we've got a hole from an old access panel, but our new attic ladder is not going to fit that, so I'm going to have to cut the hole bigger. If you don't have an access panel or hole in your ceiling, you'll need to drill into your plasterboard from scratch. If this is the case, please be very aware of any cables or pipes that could be up there. We suggest you get an electrician or plumber out to certify this. So this is my attic ladder. To get a measurement for the ceiling, I'm just going to measure the width and the length. The next step is to measure the centre mark in the hallway. The reason we want to measure the centre is so that we can make sure the attic ladder is in the dead centre of the hallway. Next up, I need to measure half the width of the attic ladder from the centre line to one side. The reason for this is I know where one side is going to be. Now I've done that, I need to do the exact same thing down the other end, and then I can get a clean line of where the edge will be. Now I've got two marks, I'll use a level to make a nice clean line. Now I've done that line, I'm going to repeat the exact same on the other side. Now that I've got the two length lines, I need to determine where the ends are going to be. The easiest way is to find a joist in the ceiling and start back from there. I'm just going to send my tape through to one of the joists and then measure back from there. Now I've got that line there, I can draw another line on this side and then I can measure from here right down to the far end. Now that we've got our lines marked out, I'm ready to cut it using a plasterboard saw. Just make sure you wear some safety gear like some goggles and a mask, and again double check that there's no cables about. Now that we've got our plasterboard cut out, we're ready to do the framing. Because I still have some joists left in there, I'm going to have to cut them out. I'm going to need a reciprocating saw. Before cutting any joist, you need to establish whether they're structural or load bearing. To do this, a builder or an engineer can determine this. Now that I've used the reciprocating saw to cut off the battens, I'm ready to cut the joists. Because these joists run this way and finish on this wall, I'm only going to have to make one cut. What I'm going to do is mark with my set square where the plasterboard meets the joist, and then get up into the ceiling, make a mark 35mm back from that to allow for my noggin, and then make a cut up there. Now that I've made that cut, I'm just going to use a handsaw to finish cutting it off. Now that I've cut those joists out, I'm ready to measure. Now I've got a measurement between my joists, I'm ready to make a cut and then nail that noggin in. Now I've got the first noggin in, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. The next step is putting the attic ladder up into position and temporarily bracing it. For that, it's a two-man job, so I'm going to ask my friend John to come give me a lift. Before you put it up, a handy tip is to get a scrap piece of timber and nail it at one end, sticking over the edge. This will mean the unit will sit on top of this and will make it a lot easier for you to hold. Now we've got the temporary block nailed at the other end, we're ready to put the attic ladder in. I'm going to get John to help me lift it in. We're going to put the far end in first, sitting on that temporary block, and then lift the whole unit in. Once we've got it in, we're going to nail another temporary block at the far end. But at this end, it's really important that the block only covers the frame and not the door. Now that the attic ladder is temporarily secured up there, we're ready to start moving it around to begin fixing it. We'll begin by attempting to put the attic ladder against one of the noggins and checking if it's square. So we've got that hard against that noggin there and the door frame is square. So I'm now going to open the door, climb up there, and then I can screw into that side of the noggin. Before I open the door, it's really important to clear anything from underneath and make sure no one's standing underneath it. The worst thing would be it moves and it falls and hurts someone. Now I've got that open, I'll just climb up on my ladder and I can screw that in. I'll need to pre-drill these as I'm going into hardwood. The screws I'm going to use are 75mm wood screws, and I'm going to use 3 for the length. I'm going to put one 100mm from each end and one dead in the middle. Now I need to pack the side that we haven't fixed yet. I'm just going to snap some packers, roughly the width of the attic ladder kit. When packing this side, it's really important to make it nice and tight. If it's too loose, when the screw goes in, it will pull the frame out of square. Now that I've packed that, I'm ready to pre-drill and screw that side as well. Now that we've got both sides fixed, it's time to cut the feet of the ladder. To do this, I need to measure from the ladder towards the ground and then cut that amount off the bottom step. Now I need to transfer that measurement from the join down. Now that I've marked that, I need to use a handsaw to cut that off. Make sure when you're using a handsaw to wear gloves, goggles and earmuffs. Now that you've cut that, you can put the feet that came with your attic ladder. Just make sure you still wear your gloves because there could be some sharp edges on there. I couldn't access these last 2 screws as the folded ladder was in the way. But now we've got the feet cut and I can climb up here, I can put them in. Now we just need to check that it closes okay and it's looking square. And once that's done, we can take away our temporary blocks. That's looking great. I'm just going to take the blocks off now. When you go to do your finishing, you would put some architrave around this, but other than that, that's completely done. As you can see, it's a bit of a messy job, but it's really rewarding knowing you've got all that space you can use up in the attic. And there we go. That's how you install an attic ladder.